1079 CDY. It's Cadillac Unscripted, and it's sponsored by Independent Bank. Rich Spicer with you on this Saturday morning, and we have a special guest with us. This is Chad Saxton. He is the Director of Outreach at Eagle Village in Hersey. And good morning, Chad. How are you?
Good morning, Rich. It's great to be with you this Saturday morning, and kind of earlier than I'm normally getting up and around on a Saturday morning, but it's fun to be with you.
We had you in because, well, first of all, we know that you've been looking for help, for assistance, for people to assist the mission at Eagle Village. But let's start at the beginning and talk about what the mission of Eagle Village is.
Yeah, we were founded in 1968 by Kermit and Jean Hanley. They traveled across the country and got to Clare area, and we're going to build a group home for kids. And by the time they got there,
those folks were from where?
They were California.
And they just chose this area as a place?
Jean Hanley's parents were pastors in Clare area. And so they came back. They were offered a farm to use, and they got all the way to the Clare area and were asked not to have troubled kids coming into the community. And because her parents were pastors there, they decided to wait. And then they got the land in Hersey and started taking kids right away.
Isn't that something? That's an amazing story. And that was how long ago?
53 years ago.
53 years. Katy.
Oh my goodness. I'm just joining, guys, and I'm hearing quite a story here.
Well, we just got started, Katy, so you haven't missed a thing. Other than just the background on Eagle Village. So over that 53 years, how many families have you helped? How many kids in trouble have you helped?
Thousands.
Yeah.
I don't think we've even kept track. There's so many.
What makes Eagle Village different?
I think what makes Eagle Village different is that we're a three-pronged approach. We run summer camps for at-risk kids, trying to keep kids in the community and not having to go into foster care or residential care. We offer foster care. We license home. There's about 45 homes licensed in a 50-mile radius of Eagle Village. And then we do residential care for abuse and neglected boys and girls. And I think we're a family systems approach where we want to work with the whole family because we know we just can't change the kid. We've got to change the whole family system. And so that sets us apart. And then we're founded under Christian principles too, and that's a little bit different than other residential facilities in the area.
How does a troubled child make their way into Eagle Village? Do they have to be referred? Does a family member call and say, I'm at my wit's end? How does that come to be?
There are a lot of avenues. We run weekend camps, so a parent can say, I need help, and we direct them into that. We have community-based counseling where people just need counseling, so they can call. We take most insurances. Department of Health and Human Service is working with a kid, and they refer to Eagle Village, but it goes through a whole system of channels, and then the child ends up at Eagle Village where they're in residential care from anywhere 6 months to a year or longer. And then foster care comes through DHHS when kids are taken out of their home through CPS and for abuse and neglect. And then we also do adoptions, and we average about 30 adoptions a year.
That's about 2.5 a month, if I'm doing my math right.
And those are fun, and to be in a courtroom, not this year, we haven't been in a courtroom, but to be in a courtroom with a judge, because those are happy times for a judge. Our judges have to deal with a lot of stuff that's not fun, but to be able to give a kid a forever home and to see the look on the judge's face, because it's a joy. And they do those a lot on Fridays because it's the end of the week and they want to end on a happy note.
It's a nice way to end a week. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Katy, you got anything teed up for Mr. Saxton?
Yes, Mr. Saxton. It has been said. I've spent some time at Eagle Village doing some mentoring with young women. And I can remember Craig Widener set that up for me years ago and brought me in. And I said, how does what you asked, Rich? How do these kids get here? And I mean, this is a long time ago, but I think what Craig said to me is, this is where kids go when everything else didn't work. Is that true?
Yeah, I think for the most part, residential treatment is a last resort. The state, the counties, everybody tries to do whatever they can to keep kids in home because that's the best place for a kid. But there comes a time where it's not safe. There's not other options. And sometimes it's because there's not enough foster parents in the area to be able to meet the needs for foster care.
And that brings up
Okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, and then I'll tee up my question after you, Katy.
I'm just amazed by the different services that you offer. You are juggling a lot of balls when you get into adoption, and then you get into foster care, and then you get into. And I just want to know what does staffing look like, and what type of education does your team have?
It's the whole gamut. We have about 175 staff, and today we need to hire about 10 to 15. But our staff, they come from all walks of life. So we have master's levels, social workers, we have criminal justice degrees, we have counseling degrees, education degrees, recreation management. And then we have business services. And so there's a lot of different people. Some of our best staff are high school grads that have lived some life, that have worked in a factory, have been a farmer, a mechanic, and just realize, I want to do something different. I want to make a difference, and every day know that I'm making a difference.
You're giving me goosebumps.
Do you have any former students, residents that you've served before that are on your staff?
We have over the years.
Okay.
Currently, we don't, but there's been several that I can think of that have come back and worked.
It's interesting because, I have been in contact with my share of kids who have had troubled pasts through the CTC, and they come back to me and they always say, what can I do to make a difference? And I always suggest, be a high school counselor. Learn how to counsel. You have been through it. You've made it through it. You can talk from a very, very educated perspective about what a kid needs to do to make it through. So you were just talking about needing to hire 10 to 15 people. What's the greatest need at Eagle Village right now?
We need staff who love kids. It's really our direct care staff working in residential care. So you come in, we have 3 different shifts. First shift is usually taken by staff who have been around for a while. We have a second shift where there's 1 staff to 3 kid ratio. So there's 3 staff on a team with 9 kids. And you're doing what parents do. You're bringing them home from school. You're helping them get grades, homework done. You're helping them get meals ready, taking them to after school activities, which involves leisure pursuits for us. Learning what to do in your leisure time might be arts and crafts, might be learning to dance, might be just whatever it is to help those kids have other outlets. And you get dinner ready. You're doing quiet times with them in the evening, reflective time, mentoring them. And might even be a pickup game of basketball, but there's different things going on all the time that you can play, you can lead, and mentor kids and help them through the trauma that they've gone through.
It sounds to me like you're trying to have them have as normal of a day and a routine as you can.
Yeah, we're set up. We want to be a family-oriented place. We do dinner around the dinner table. It's a big table.
Who does dinner around the dinner table anymore? That might be the problem in society today.
I'm impressed. That's hard work.
Yeah, and it is. And they do reflective time. There's neat things that happen around the dinner table. We used to do cafeteria style, but we really went back to family style because there's a lot of things that happen around the table, and we want to give our kids teach them as much as we can about family, what a family should be like, just to help them out. They go to school every day. They're normal kids that have gone through a lot, and you can't pick our kids out in a lineup. They look like your neighbors, and some of them may have been your neighbor.
Right. Yeah, we just don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Question, the funding. I mean, it takes a lot of money to keep this engine rolling. Where does all the money come from?
The state of Michigan pays for kids to be in care, and we raise about $500,000 a year on top of that to provide the things that makes Eagle Village unique. With our family weekends, we're transporting families in. We're not required to do that, and the state doesn't require or doesn't pay for those services. Our chapel program, we raise money from because that's a separate entity. We do a lot of experiential-based programming, so the expenses with some of that comes out of there. And then we're always trying to make places better. New furniture for the homes. We've renovated all of our kitchens in the last 3 years in the houses. We've renovated all the houses to make them more like a home and not institutional. So those are things that we raise money above and beyond to take care of.
Katy, we're going to hold on just a second. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to spend the second half of our Cadillac Unscripted program here with Chad Saxton, Director of Outreach for Eagle Village. Cadillac Unscripted continues in a moment. It's sponsored by Independent Bank. Back in a moment on 107.9 CDY. Chad Saxton is our guest this morning. He is from Eagle Village. He is the Director of Outreach, and we are learning a lot more about Eagle Village, even though the tours haven't really been able to be done in person. We were just talking with Chad about how the hope is to resume that soon. We're going to talk about that in a few moments, but Katy, I know you had something you wanted to ask Chad.
Right. I think I'm interested in what capacity of the facility would be. What's your capacity? And then what new programs are coming down the pike and what needs are at the forefront?
Yeah, really, we can house about 65 kids in our residential programs. Currently, our numbers are lower. We're opening a new program here in a few weeks that is going to help Michigan. I'll touch base on that in a minute. And then we have 65 kids in foster care in a 70-mile radius, including Wexford, Clare, Mecosta, Osceola, Lake. And so we license 45 homes. We're always in need of foster families. And so it's a huge area that we're always growing. Our new program that we're getting ready to start is intensive stabilization. And it's really kids that can't make it at home right now. There's not room for them in a psychiatric hospital. They're struggling. The trauma is just so much for them that they can't function in everyday life. And so they can come to Eagle Village for a 45-day stay through the Department of Health and Human Service. We stabilize them, and then we'll get them back into their foster home, into their family, into another placement where they need help to further work through what they're dealing with. We're excited about that. We need staff to get that up and going.
So, Chad, we talked about off-air. We talked about mental health facilities being at capacity. And, I always say a good nonprofit steps up in a time of need because the rest of your work is not going to go away, Chad, right? Everything else is, moving on all cylinders, and now you're introducing a really intense modification program for kids that are struggling. And can you talk to us about the need? I mean, you've been throwing around some big numbers of kids that are in need of foster care and in kids that are in need of intense mental health therapy.
Yeah, last year alone there was 13,000 kids in Michigan that needed to be in foster care. And those are huge numbers if you think of it. And what can we do here in Michigan is to find new foster homes for people in churches to say, I need to take a kid in, for people that have an extra bed in their house to say, hey, my kids are older, but I'm feeling called to take somebody else into my home to help them. So foster homes are always big idea. And then there were 2,500 kids today in Michigan that need to be adopted, that don't have a forever home. Basically orphans that need someplace. And if we don't have homes for them, they end up in long-term foster care. They end up in residential care, and just really need to get back in their homes or find a forever home.
It takes a very, very special family and a very special approach to bring in a kid with a troubled past who wants to do better into your home. So how would folks begin the process if they were interested in becoming a foster home, Chad?
Yeah, you're right, Rich. It takes a special person. It's not for everybody. And you got to think, you just don't bring a kid into your home and love them and they're going to do great. Because they're coming with lots of baggage and trauma. And so it takes a patient family that can walk through that. But people interested can get in contact with Eagle Village. They can get in contact with their local DHHS. And everybody's looking for foster families. There's a training that you go through. And so it's not just they throw kids into your home, but there's lots of background checks and then a full training that you go through.
You were talking about the geographical area where your foster families are. How far is your circle as far as the kids you're serving? Is it all around the state, or is it a certain circle within Eagle Village and Hersey, or what's the circle?
It's both. In foster care, we have about a 70-mile radius that the kids come from and the foster homes are from, because we want to have visits with those families. We want to be close enough that it's not a hindrance for mom and dad to see their child.
That makes sense.
And vice versa, and sibling visits.
Sure.
So we keep them together. Residential, we've served kids from 58 counties last year.
Oh my goodness.
58 counties.
That is a huge radius.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
And so we take kids from the UP across the whole state. We don't typically get a lot from the southeast corner, just because Hersey's a little bit different than Detroit.
That it is.
Yes. Yep, certainly.
And you don't want to. You don't want to.
Oh.
No, and I was just going to say, you don't want to give culture shock to kids who are already emotionally distraught anyway, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Katy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm thinking about your team. You know, this team of amazing people that are part of a mission that's way bigger than themselves. How does Eagle Village keep their spirits up and keep their passion to serve, up and morale up when they're dealing with such weighty material every day?
Yeah, we do a lot of self-care. We talk about that during training. We give ideas on what self-care is, but we've got to take care of ourselves to be able to pour out into other people. And so finding ways to fill yourself, using your vacation times wisely, and having some parameters put in. It's like when you leave work there. When you come to work in the morning, leave home at home, because sometimes home can distract us from work too. And we want our staff to be able to pour into the kids all the time. We do trainings every week. So this morning we had a training on paraverbals and how to talk to kid, making sure our tone is right, making sure that we are being careful how we talk and how we present things.
Chad, how big is the faith piece of this with the team?
Could you repeat that, Katie?
The state's piece.
Yeah, I said the you've got a strong faith undercurrent, which makes you unusual, makes the organization unusual. When you're serving this many kids, you talk about Christian principles. You don't see that across the board. And how big of a piece of the puzzle is that?
We don't hire just Christian staff. We're probably about half and half, or 3/4 and a quarter. We have chapel on every Wednesday. Staff are invited to come to that, and it's optional for our kids, which is how we've been able to keep that separate when we work with the state of Michigan. So we offer a chapel alternative. But I think that's huge. I mean, for me, my faith is huge in what keeps me grounded and what keeps me to be able to go in and to be a foster parent and adoptive parent and to work with kids every day.
Absolutely.
Tell me about the ages that you serve, the youngest to the oldest.
Yeah, foster care, we have kids at birth that are coming right from the hospital into a foster home all the way up to 23. In our residential programs, we will take kids as young as 8, but that's a rarity. In the behavioral stabilization program that we're starting, that'll probably be more likely to get younger kids at times in there than in our residential homes. Residential homes run 10 to 17, and if a youth turns 17 or turns 18 while they're in care, then they can stay until they're 19.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so they can stay another year if they're in care when they turn 18.
And we have more and more that are doing that because they're getting their diplomas, and they want to make sure they get that diploma because they know that makes a difference when they leave. And we've also started a career and trade center, and so those kids, those 16 to 17, 18-year-olds are in that program, and they want to get a certificate so that they can go out. And here's another startling number. 18 to 24-year-olds is the fastest growing homeless population in the United States. And a lot of that is attributed to kids aging out of foster care who aren't equipped to live on their own.
So
oh my gosh!
So your career in technical education is teaching hard skills and soft skills. Then,
yeah, we really want kids to know how to interview, to know how to budget, to know how to apply for a job, to deal with difficult situations. So a lot of times, a kid that experienced trauma gets in conflict and they blow up and they don't deal with it well. So we're wanting to really work through that trauma to help the kids know this is the way that you resolve conflict and to do it in an appropriate way.
Interesting.
Chad, all of us as parents struggled. I mean, my kids are grown now, and Richard's still got a house full, but this screen time issue, I have had so many 70-some-year-olds say to me, glad I wasn't raising children during, screen time issues and the internet. And how do you handle that at Eagle Village?
Yeah, we few years ago, we moved to a charter academy for our school, strictly because the kids were getting too much screen time in the school that they were going through. And now that we have the charter academy, they're being taught every day. They rotate classrooms like a regular classroom, and they're being equipped to go back into school. So they're not getting the screen times. And of course, they're in care, so they don't have phones.
Okay.
We do allow kids to have MP3 players, and it's all checked out so they can't communicate in and out and can't get onto stuff that they shouldn't be.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
that was a great question, Katy, because screen time and phone addiction is really a thing with kids these days. And you know, we see it in the classroom. It's like, okay, it's time to work. Put the phone down. Everything comes to them these days through their telephones.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard for them to put it down. So that is a great skill to teach someone at that age, that they don't have to have that sewed to their pocket.
Oh, amen. And Chad, you said 3 words earlier in the interview that made me grin from ear to ear. Pick up basketball. I love it. Here are giving kids life skills so that they're not always in front of a computer or their phone. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's lost. It's a lost art now. Gardening and kids doing these things and being outside in fresh air. It's so healthy, so important. Well done.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And you know, there's so many bad things that you can get drug into being on your screens. And in our summer camp programs, our summer camps are built for kids that can't make it at another camp. You're not going to find them at Center Lake. You're not going to find them out at Camp Living Waters or Spring Hill. You're going to find them. They're not going there because they can't make it at a week of camp. So we take kids that aren't able to make it at a week of camp, and we give them challenging activities like canoeing or climbing walls, ropes courses, and teach them how to have success.
So what makes the job all worthwhile, I would imagine, Chad, really is hearing from people who have been through the Eagle Village program. Tell me a little bit about some of the correspondence that you have gotten or others have gotten at Eagle Village from a former resident.
Yeah, it's crazy because I was at the front desk last summer with just talking to our administrative assistant, and somebody came in the door, and as I saw him walking up, I just thought, I'm going to just wait here a second. And he came in, and Dana asked, "Hey, can I help you?" And he looked at her and he said, "You already did 20 years ago." And
wow.
And so sitting there, I talked to him, and then I figured out who he was because I had been at Eagle Village and working there at the time. I don't look like I've been there for that long, but this is radio, so I can say that. And Harvey says, I sat down and talked with him, and I pulled him into my office because I always want to just see where people are at before. And so I hear a story. He struggled some when he left. He ended up working in a prison as a guard. He was currently at this time managing 2 restaurants. He had raised, as a single dad, 2 boys. And he shared with me that he just became the president of his Knights of Columbus Club back in his hometown. And it was just really cool to hear those stories. And I took him up to the house that he lived in. Mm. And we walked back down to his bedroom. He was there for 6 months. And he just talked about, just stuff started coming out. And he talked about he was in our assessment center, which used to be a lockup facility. So judges would send kids there. They would start there and then move out into one of our homes. And he said, when I was in there, it was like I struggled. I was just ready to get out of there. And then I came into the home, and that, back in those days, they would come in on a Friday, all 12 kids in the house, and then they would go on a wilderness trip that Sunday. And he goes, then you took me on the wilderness trip. I thought I was broken from the lockup facility, but then I go out into the woods for 12 days. And he just said that changed things for him. And then he pointed to his bed and he goes, that's the first place I read the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And for him to just sit there and so we talked some more, and Eagle Village is a seed planter. So we plant seeds into kids every day because we want them to sprout and grow later. And in Harvey, I just asked him, what about seed planting? What does that mean? And he goes, there's a time in my life where I just realized I was going down the wrong road. And he goes, it was like I'd pull my hand out of the pocket and seeds would fall and stuff would grow up. Oh, I learned that at Eagle Village. I learned that at Eagle Village. And just how then it all came back to him. And that's what we do. We plant seeds every day so that they'll sprout later.
And you may not see the fruits of your labor right away. It may take years.
Yeah, we often don't.
But if it happens, no matter when, it's all worth it, right? Okay, so in the couple of minutes we have left, tell us about, one more time, Chad, what your needs are there, how folks can apply. We've talked about this not being a job but a calling. How can folks become part of the Eagle Village family?
EagleVillage.org.
Okay.
And we're looking for people who are passionate about kids, that care about kids no matter what their story is. They want to see them grow, that are patient, that really want to make a difference. Mm-hmm. And it's not a job. If you want a job, go to McDonald's. If you want a mission, come to Eagle Village. And
I love it.
Yep, because we don't want people that are just looking for a paycheck right now. We want people that want to be a part of the team and help us move forward.
People who are looking to make a difference.
Yep, a calling.
Chad, I have to do my question, because I know that fundraising, $500,000, and you could always use more. If money were no object, what would you do next for the organization? Where would you take it if money were no object?
Right now we're really focusing on expressive arts. Our kids are so talented, and we're actually starting to look into a facility that would hold a drama, theater, music, dance, and to have a spot where those kids can learn that and to deal with to cope with the trauma through those expressive arts.
A healthy outlet, Chad.
And teamwork. Because a good drama and, theater and stuff like that's a team. Yeah, that's good stuff.
And then I would say to really to be able to get instructors in our Career and Trade Center that right now we do it with volunteers, but our goal is to have that. And I think there's like 40 to 50 kids in our area that are expelled from school that can't go, and to maybe start a day program for those kids that need that training.
There you go.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole nother population that you're working with, Chad. You guys do it all. I am amazed by the work that you're doing in the community, and we are just so grateful for the impact that you're having on the lives of young people.
And we appreciate you coming in and telling the Eagle Village story, because I don't think a lot of people in the community know much about it. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you just for the opportunity, because it's a great place. And Katy, we'd love to have you back out for a tour, because things have changed.
Let's go, Katy.
And so
you and me.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
And I invite others to come out as soon as we can.
All right. Chad Saxton.
God bless you, Chad.
All right. Chad Saxton, the Director of Outreach at Eagle Village, our guest today on Cadillac Unscripted. We'll do it again next week. More local chat, same time, same station. Cadillac Unscripted, sponsored by Independent Bank on 107.9 CDY.